Have you ever woken up one day and realized that someone has suddenly disappeared from your life? One day, they were your closest friend, sharing everything with you. But the very next day, silence. No texts, no calls, no sign of life. You start wondering, what did I do wrong? But what if I told you that this act of ignoring you wasn't random, but a deliberate choice? What if, in reality, when someone chooses to ignore you, it could be a sign of their own growth? What does this really mean? And how should you handle the silence? Imagine you're Jack, a guy who's always there for others. Friendly, reliable, always ready to lend a hand. But then, one day, everything changes. His texts go unanswered. Friends who used to reach out now avoid him. Conversations that were once filled with laughter and joy now turn awkward, cold. Jack is confused and starts questioning himself. What did I do wrong? Being ignored doesn't feel good at all. But that very moment opened up a profound lesson for Jack. He decides to seek advice from his mentor, Mr. Martin, a retired psychologist who lives in the peaceful suburbs of New York. Mr. Martin hands Jack a candle and a match, instructing him to light the candle. As the flame flickers in the dark, he tells Jack to hold it near an open window. And just like that, a gust of wind blows out the flame. Mr. Martin explains, a flame can only shine brightly when it's protected, but if it burns too brightly, it attracts the wind. This is why people ignore you. Your growth might be too powerful for them, making them uncomfortable. The real reason for being ignored, it's not because you did something wrong. It's because they can't keep up with your growth. When someone ignores you, don't jump to the conclusion that they no longer like you. Sometimes, this act of ignoring you is a reaction to your own personal development. Before, you and they were on the same level, familiar, comfortable. But as you grow, the changes in you reflect their own stagnation, making them feel threatened. Instead of growing with you, they choose to pull away. Psychological studies show that people often feel insecure when they see someone else change. The change in others forces them to confront their own imperfections. Instead of evolving themselves, they opt to avoid the discomfort. Being ignored doesn't just hurt your feelings. Your brain reacts strongly to the sense of abandonment, as if you've been excluded from a group or community. This triggers real pain because humans are social creatures. Being cast aside signals to your brain that you are unsafe. This is a biological response, not just an emotional one. And here's the thing. Being ignored isn't always about something you did wrong. Sometimes, it's simply a reflection of their own inability to face your success or growth. It forces them to take a hard look at themselves, and they'd rather avoid that. So, how do you deal with being ignored without feeling hurt? Let's explore how you can protect yourself and rise above the situation. How to handle being ignored and protect yourself. 1. Don't chase. After an explanation, when someone starts ignoring you, don't run after them for answers. Instead, ask yourself, is this really that important? Is it worth chasing after someone who no longer invests in me? You don't need to bend over backward to please people who no longer care about you. 2. Set boundaries and focus on your growth. Remember, you don't have to please everyone. Sometimes, letting go isn't failure, it's strength. Focus on personal development, finding healthy relationships, and adding real value to your own life. This is how you continue to grow, rather than holding on to relationships that no longer serve you. 3. Be compassionate, but don't let it hurt you. Sometimes the reason someone ignores you isn't about you. It's about their own struggles with change. Compassion is a good thing, but don't let it damaging you. Understand that their reaction is about their own issues, not about you. So, what will you do when someone ignores you? Will you keep chasing after relationships that have shifted? Or will you move forward, focusing on your own growth and seeking real connections. Being ignored isn't a failure. Sometimes, it's the universe making room for your growth, pushing you to become the best version of yourself. Remember, being ignored can be a gift. It's the universe clearing a path for you. Are you ready to step out of your comfort zone and embrace the journey ahead?